is up, you guys? Thank you so much for tuning back into my channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've been meaning to do this series like a while ago. I had mentioned it in one of my previous videos when I first started my YouTube, but better late than never. Right now I know that a lot of college admission letters are going out, and a lot of you might be first generation, just like I was a few years ago, so I wanted to share some of my tips and tricks of deciding what university to go for. Now, mind you, my parents never attended college, and thus they couldn't really give me any advice, so I was just kind of on it by myself. A lot of you might be on the same boat and can relate, so here's just a couple tips and tricks on how I attended college. Now, yeah, some background information. So I did attend a 4-year university right after high school. I didn't have any gaps or anything of that nature, so I'm not familiar with that process. I did stay on campus in the residence halls. I was an RA for 3 of the 4 years that I went there. Each year was about 60,000, a little over 60,000 I believe, and I had all of that paid for through various avenues like scholarships, grants, and all that. I didn't take out any loans for my education, which is huge, especially in this day and age. I can definitely do a separate video on that if you're at all interested in knowing how I did that. It was a Catholic university. Well, it is a Catholic university since it's still standing. Yeah, so that's just kind of like background of like, yeah, so that's just a little background on the university and what it looked like. And what it looked like for me. So let's get started. So first and foremost, I would highly suggest that you try and visit the university that you're planning on attending or that you're eyeing or what have you. I know some universities will have their admitted students like fly out to visit the university. I believe those are the more elite colleges though. I don't know, I might be wrong. I didn't apply to any of the elites, so I don't know. But I would highly suggest that you just check that out with your admissions counselor if you're across the country or something. Hey, who knows? They might do it for you. Just check, maybe they'll give you a bus voucher or something, I don't know. Once you step foot onto that university, like you'll know for sure if it's gonna be the right fit for you or not. Like the university that I attended, when I stepped foot on it, I absolutely right off the bat knew that that was gonna be the university that I wanted to go to, and luckily I was admitted. I'm so happy to this day. It was just a mixture of different components. Like I, for starters, knew what I wanted in a university. I knew that I didn't want to go to a college that was like in the middle of Seattle or like some huge city, but I also didn't want it in the middle of like bumfuck nowhere. Like I wanted it somewhere where there was some community, but not where I'd get like stressed in terms of like how many people there are. I wanted somewhere kind of like suburbanish, ruralish area. So where I went was just right off the bat in the middle of that, and absolutely loved it. There were trees everywhere, so I could escape and go on walks and stuff like that. You have to be careful when you do that regardless of where you live. And I first visit, I was able to go into some of the classes and stuff, and I was able to see like other students going about their things, and I just the basics of like most universities. I was able to see the gym, the residence halls, the cafeteria, like all that fun stuff. Most universities will allow you to like spend a night or something like that at the university, like most. Admissions office at my university had a program where they would have attending students host students that were interested in the university. Those students would tour them around the university and the campus, giving them that like experience, the peer-to-peer experience, which I absolutely loved. The gal that I stayed with, he took me to the nearby town and at night, and so we got to explore it a little bit, and that was absolutely fun because I also, you know, was able to see what it would be like outside, just doing some fun things, not all the time like in academia. So you have to also look at that. What are your options for like leisure and stuff like that? But definitely check out, you know, obviously you're there for academics, so you want to check that out first, which leads me to my next point 2. So aside from the education, of course, you want to be realistic and you want to know what's going to be in your means. That was probably one of the scariest things for me because I do come from a single parent household. My only income was that of my mom's, and so I mean for me it was a little bit harder because I didn't have like dual income from 2 parents, and so I was just kind of like, I was like, how does that work? But once you fill out the FAFSA and all that stuff, with your parents' income, like you'll get an EFC number, and depending on that, then you give it to financial aid and all that jazz at the university, and then they'll figure out what you qualify for in terms of like your state grants. They'll give you a list of like the grants and stuff and scholarships that they might offer. So I would highly suggest that you meet with financial aid right off the bat. If you have a university in mind, definitely make sure to meet with their financial aid office one-to-one. I know that sometimes talking on the phone might be easier, but honestly, going in person and having them see you face to face and talking with them is the best route to go, because they will be able to tell you if there's scholarships that maybe weren't listed on your financial aid package. Like once you apply and get admitted and all that stuff, your financial aid package will be the list. It'll lay out usually first semester. I was on semester system. I don't know how it works for quarter system, but it'll lay out your expenses and what's covered for each semester. So you definitely want to take that and go to financial aid and see if they have any more aid. If you're going to take out loans, see if there's any more loans. Don't take out loans though if you don't have to. You definitely want to ask important questions to financial aid as well, like, are the scholarships that are offered my first year going to roll over into next year and the third year and the fourth year, or are they a one-time thing for being admitted as a new student? Like, you definitely want to check that out. Another thing that you should really be vigilant about, if they offer any type of scholarship for first incoming students. I know that at my university they offered one where it was combined with a program, so I can't remember the exact details of it, and it wasn't part of when I was admitted, it wasn't a thing. It started maybe like a year or two after I had started, so I was like, no, I could have been admitted. But it was pretty much, I believe, a full ride. I think it was a full ride scholarship, yeah, like everything, all expenses included or something like that. But anywho, a lot of universities nowadays have those, so I would definitely suggest you check that out. And obviously there's a lot of factors that go into you obtaining these scholarships, and so if you are still fresh, like in high school, maybe say you're freshman, sophomore, even junior year, I'd highly suggest that you get started on doing extracurricular activities and figuring out what are your interests and stuff, because that will definitely play in a lot into what scholarships you obtain. And a lot of these I have noticed are public service based, every dollar counts. So I kind of digress, sorry guys. Yeah, so I kind of covered my third point already, which is figuring out what scholarships are available through the school and outside means. You definitely need to do some research in terms of, well, for everything, but especially for the outside scholarships. Some universities have a career center, and they have scholarships. And in high school, you should have a career service person. If you don't, PTA, hello. Check with your career center and see if they have any tips and tricks on how to obtain scholarships. I myself was just on it at my career center, and I absolutely loved the staff there. Miss Dixon, she was amazing, and she really guided me through the process, and I just absolutely love her. Without her, I wouldn't have gotten as many scholarships as I did, I believe. She was just on it with me, and she helped me so much. And in addition to that, I also did my own research. I tried to see what scholarships were out there for Latinas trying to go into public service and all that stuff, because that's what really interested me, public service and law. And so I just applied. I applied to so many, and I got rejected by so many. But you know what? At the end of the day, I obtained so many scholarships that it was all worth it, because I didn't have to pay a dime for university, So it was all good. It was all good. Definitely sacrificing yourself to do that extra research, I think, will save you a lot of headache down the road. Now, I was one of those weird, odd people that definitely planned out everything in college. There's a lot of outside scholarships nowadays that I'm like, what? I wish that would have been here when I was going to college. So definitely take advantage of that. If you belong to the API community, take advantage of that. If you belong to the Black community, take advantage of that. There's so many scholarships out there also for Latinos, or maybe if you're special needs or something, find those people in your group that know people and that might know of some kind of resource where you can obtain a scholarship, because they're out there. There's money lingering out there, just waiting to go to somebody who's trying to work hard for it, and you know, that could be you. So you just have to do your research and bust yourself. I know that when I was applying, there were so many nights where I would cry because I was like, I don't want to do this no more, like I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I probably applied to like 50 scholarships and I ended up getting like 20 or something like that. I had a list somewhere, but anywho, oh my gosh, I sacrificed so much time. I had no social life my junior year. Like, yeah, no, it was a big sacrifice for sure. But hey, it all panned out and it was just amazing. When I started getting the when I started getting the congratulation letters, oh my gosh, that was like the best feeling in the world. I remember the first scholarship that I got actually was the Dell Scholars Scholarship. Some of you might know it. So it's a scholarship that is worth $20,000 and they divide it into 4. So every year you get 5,000, and then on top of that, they give you a free laptop and a free printer, so that's huge. And then they give you all this guidance, which I absolutely love. We actually had a meetup recently, and I just loved all the staff and the other scholars and stuff in the area. They offer a lot of help. That's probably one of the best scholarships, right next to the Gates Millennial Scholarship, I believe it's called. But anywho, that's the one that I was able to get. Loved it. And every semester they would give us like vouchers for the books and stuff like that, which is huge because college books are just super expensive. Overall, that was just such a great scholarship, and that was actually one of the scholarships that I was like, I turned it in the last day, so like when it was due, and I was like, I'm so tired, like I don't want to do this no more, like should I even apply? I was like, I'm probably not good enough. Like I had so much self-doubt. I'm so happy that I didn't listen to those negative thoughts. Definitely don't get into that mindset. Try not to, at least, because I know it's really hard not to, but try not to, because you are worth it. You have your own story. Don't compare yourself to anybody else and just go for it. So yeah, and now I'm one of the scholars. I'm a Dell scholar, so go for it. Okay, next point, loans. So definitely talk to the admissions office about loans, but let that be the last thing you talk to them about. You definitely want to try to get scholarships because obviously you don't have to pay for those. You definitely want to try to also get grants if you qualify for those, because you know, usually those are the first things that they'll tell you qualify for or not. That's based on your FAFSA. But try the most to not have to pay anything back, and that's gonna be through scholarships. So try to get that, but loans are your last resort. And then talk to them about subsidized and unsubsidized loans, what the interest will look like and all that jazz. One of them, I can't remember which one is which, but one, you don't start accruing interest until after you've graduated college, whereas the other one starts accruing interest while you're in college. So you definitely want to be mindful of that and precautious because it will affect your credit score and all that. So definitely make sure to check that. Next up, more on the education component, because my dog hates the neighbors. So another thing you want to be very weary about is obviously the classes. This is college. You're gonna be attending college, so that's kind of like the reason why you're there in the first place, you know. You definitely want to sit in on a couple classes, one to the very least, in whatever field you're trying to go into. So I sat in one of the political science classes, and I was able to familiarize myself with the professors a little bit because it was this like smaller department in comparison like the rest of the school. Yeah, so definitely sit in on a class, 1 or 2 or more if you can, so that way you just get a feel of what the professors' teaching methods are. You can kind of tell right off the bat, you know, like the personalities, like how the other students are, the location of where your classes are going to be. My classes were all like on the 3rd floor, which is like, but I still loved the professors and everything. You just definitely want to check that out because you're going to be in these classes for like ever. You also want to connect with other students that might be already connect with other students that are already attending that university, and especially those who are already enrolled in your major. You want to ask questions when you're there visiting, and make sure that the person that's hosting you, ask them if they know anybody within the major that you're interested in, so that way you can build that connection and ask them questions about like, hey, how are the classes, what opportunities are out there, like in terms of like internships, what have you heard, like what's the good, what's the bad. Like they'll give you everything. Definitely make that connection. That's super important. Also, another thing you might want to do is check the current year's like calendar, like the schedule, what? Check the schedule for check what the classes look like. Are all the classes at 8 a.m. or are they like in the afternoon, or are they morning and stuff like that? What days are they held? I was able to plan it to where I had Fridays off, which was like super nice. So another thing that you should check for when you visit is the living situation. What is it going to look like for you? I know that some universities, especially those in the city, have enough room for the students in the residence halls, or they're really expensive or what have you. So a lot of people opt out for renting an apartment and sharing it with like 3-4 other people and splitting the cost that way. Sometimes that's more economical for folks. I personally decided to live on campus because I wanted to have the ease of being able to go to the library when I wanted and not having it like super far away, and then also having my classes right there, and I didn't want to commute. The university was about 34 miles away from my actual house, but I didn't want to live at home because I wanted that college experience, and I kind of wanted to separate away from home life. I think university is a perfect time to do so, and definitely don't feel guilty in doing so, because I think it's just a stepping stone in being more independent. I definitely chose residence hall living. I became an RA for 3 of the 4 years that I was living there, so that definitely shut off some of the like expenses and stuff. Like my meals and my housing was paid for, so I was able to live a little bit more comfortably in the residence halls. But I know that, you know, it can cost a lot, so definitely check that out and see how the residence rooms are. Like, are they big, are they small, or should you live with roommates off campus? And it's going to differentiate obviously depending on what city you choose. So for example, if you choose LA, like right off the bat, that's going to be hella expensive. But if you choose somewhere like in the middle of Minnesota, it's probably not going to be as expensive. So definitely keep that in mind. Another important, very, very important part when it comes to choosing the university of your dreams is figuring out realistically how many alumni have been hired post-graduation. Now this is really important because you do not want to finish your degree and then be unemployed for like a long time, and or pick up a crummy job that you didn't even have to go to university for. Now this really has to do with how you make those 4 years of college work. And now I'm talking about like doing internships, externships, volunteering in places. That's how you get your foot out of the door. You really have to become uncomfortable in college to become a better person, like for your own good. You really should be doing internships like in the summers or even during the school year, like figuring out what internships you can do for credit, and like for credit in terms of like your classes. So for example, my last semester in college, I was able to do an internship at my state capital. That was like for 4 or 5 months, and in those 4 or 5 months I got to meet a whole lot of people. I interned for 2 legislators, and one of them I ended up working for full time a year after I graduated college. And in that meantime, I worked for like a nonprofit. But anywho, I digress. Without that internship, I wouldn't have probably been hired as fast at the Capitol, working as a legislative assistant. The opportunities that you seek out and that you intern for might become like a full-time job down the road, and definitely try to do internships where you want to work eventually. And also like network with other alumni. You'll be surprised. I didn't know, for example, that there were a couple of alumni students from my university that had already made it pretty much like in law and policy and all that until I like met them and all that. I definitely think I could have met them sooner in my career had I asked like other faculty and like alumni. And this goes with the whole internship spiel, but you want to check out what other alumni have done, like what kind of programs have they been admitted to, just so that you can get an idea of, even if your idea is not on the list, at least you have a mental note of what other people have done. And definitely check out their website, whatever university you're trying to get into. Know as much information as you can, show that passion. You're going to be meeting the admissions counselors, and you definitely want to portray, you know, like a passionate student type feel, and that'll help you also. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember her, she was like super like into it, like she wanted to come to our university, let's admit her. But obviously it's not going to be that easy, but you know, it helps. Another logistical thing more on the financial side is also like work study. So my tip, if you do end up qualifying for work study, definitely make sure to jump on it like 1.5 months before like summer. So for example, my school year started in August, so Most people started like in June, July, even sooner, trying to look for a job on campus because those fill up super quick. So just FYI, keep your eye out on that. Most colleges have a website where you can go and like just track what jobs become open. So yeah. But yeah, guys, those are a couple of my tips. Sorry if I was everywhere. I really tried, but you know, sometimes you try and you fail. That's college. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I graduated in 2015, so that was approximately 4 years ago, and ever since I've been working mostly in nonprofits and with local state and county government. So that's just a little bit about my background. If you're interested in knowing a little bit more, just let me know in the comments below. Yeah, so hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please thumbs up it, subscribe and all that. Like I said, I'm gonna be starting a little series on here, so just let me know down below what other information you'd like to hear. I can definitely do more in-depth videos of certain topics. Just let me know down below, because girl, I'm a walking thesaurus. So yeah, thank you so much for supporting and tuning in and all that fun stuff. I really do hope that this information helps some of you. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!